So, I'm Saurabh and I'm your trainer for performance testing, and I'm on behalf of Uplatz. So, before starting our class, I'll just speak something about our last class so that you will gather the details. You'll have a sound knowledge about our last class, and I'll also speak about the current agenda, like today's class, what I will be covering. And once this thing is over, we can proceed with the tool installation. So guys, yes, as of my previous class, I have discussed on uh, spike testing, like how can you do perform spike testing, and how I have even explained the overall process about spike testing. So definitely you have got you have got an idea. So if still you have any doubt, then definitely you can go my previous session and watch that video. So without wasting much time, let's focus about today's agenda, what we'll be covering up. So we will be focusing on remaining performance type tests like breakpoint test, and even if time permits, we will focus we'll see how can you download that particular load runner tool. So again, once we download and install that tool, we particularly where we will be in a good phase to start our learn about load runner components, as I think you have got a basic idea about performance and all. So I'll just focus on downloading the load runner, but I'll be focusing on few more phases like NFR gatherings, and like I'll show you some kind of template. I'll collect and downloads from some sites so that you you will have a idea on the overall performance concept. Okay, let's just start. Okay, what is breakpoint test? Breakpoint test. By hearing the name of breakpoint test, uh, you guys, you might be having by listening the name of breakpoint test, you might have some idea like it's relating to breaking point of the application. Am I correct? So definitely, if you guys are thinking on that way, you're absolutely right. So your main primary objective is to find out the breakpoint of an application, like at what particular user load your application breaks. So today we will be focusing on what is breakpoint test, how to identify the breakpoint load, and purpose of application breakpoint test. Okay, let's just see what is breakpoint test. Breakpoint test. Okay, it is also a non-functional test. Like similarly, how we perform for different, we have different perform non-functional tests like load test, stress test, spike test. endurance test. So this is also one point, a type of test which comes under NFT. And we normally perform once if there is no failures in stress test, then definitely we will go for this kind of breakpoint test. So next point, like I will be discussing, like it comes after stress test. Normally, normally stress test, if the stress test is a success, we go for this kind of testing. And it helps to find out the breaking point of our application. So it also helps to identify the maximum users capacity. It also helps to identify the maximum user capacity of the application. So, like I spoke about this thing, like you can identify your maximum user capacity. What does this line speak about? Like normally, suppose an application can support around 5,000 user. Like suppose, let's take an example. An application can support around 5,000 users. Then suppose if we try to push our uh, virtual load around 5 6,000 users, then definitely there is a breakpoint in 5,000. Let's see. Okay, so let's take it can support around 5,000 users. Let's take this the application breakpoint. After this, there is a breakpoint. At this particular point, there is a breakpoint. Suppose you are pushing you want to give some more user, like more thousand. So let's say like you want to give a user load of 6,000 user, and continuously you started ramping up, and the users, because in breakpoint testing we don't want to go for any kind of steady state, so definitely we'll continuously ramp up the users until we find a breakpoint. So definitely you observe that once the user are ramped up till 5,000, when the next users it went like 5,001, there is a breakpoint in the application. Suddenly there is a breakpoint like here it is coming, so you cannot push any user after that. The application is maximum scalable up to 5,000 users. It is supported up to 5,000 users, but definitely after that there is the application, the users cannot ramped up. So you have to identify the maximum user capacity bearable, or maximum load bearing capacity. Okay, once you got that the maximum breakpoint and you analyze that your application is failing on 5,000 number of users, so definitely you got your breakpoint. More likely some application fails during test when the expected future load is applied on the server. Suppose most of the application is failed in stress test. In case if your application is well tuned, your application is well tuned, then definitely your test will pass. So suppose most of the application failed in stress test, and in case if your application is well tuned, then definitely your test will pass. So, and your main objective of stress test is also to meet the expected user load. Like when you go for stress testing, definitely you test for around some percentage, some high like 30, 130% or 150% or 170%, depending on what client gives. But if suppose you don't want to once your application is well tuned and you meet your uh, you also your expected amount like 150% also your application is handling and it is supporting, then definitely you want to know how what is the maximum number of load our application can support. So at that point of time this breakpoint kind of testing is needed. Okay, so I think like you have already got a good idea on this, like you have a sound idea about breakpoint test. So how to identify the breakpoint load? So definitely this is a negative kind of testing. Normally, I already told like there is some negative kind of testing we need to perform to ensure our application is fine. Definitely for functional test also we try to derive some negative test cases or negative scenarios. To suppose there is a login portal, you just don't try the correct credential. You even try with incorrect credential whether it accepts the blank username, or you accept the blank password and directly you click on the login button. Then it should not, the expected result is it should throw you a message like it should give a please try it, type the correct username or credential. So this is what negative test case means. So this is also a negative testing because we want to break our application. Our primary objective of is to break the application, not to so that's the reason we don't go for any kind of steady state. We continuously ramp up the users until we find a breaking point. And in every case like you want as you are trying to break the application, then definitely your primary objective is to fail the server resources, and you wanted to make sure like uh, s- because of large concurrent user load, there is a high chance for a failure in the application. So, because of large concurrent user load, there is a high chance for a failure in the application. Your server resources like CPU, memory, and disk might fail, might be high because unnecessary load is given on the application. So definitely when you put unexpected user load or like beyond the limit, like definitely I'll just try to give an example. Suppose let's take of a person. Like a person can have suppose in a meal he can take around few quantities of rice. Or let's take, I'll take one more example. So let's take, this is a bucket Okay, and you start feeling waters. So start feeling water, and at one particular point of time, your full bucket is filled. At that point of time, there is an overflow of water. So this all overflowed. So how much you want, after the bucket is filled, you pour n number of amount of water, the all the water will be overflowed, and it will be wastage. So you don't want to put once the bucket is filled, you will not provide more waters in the bucket. So definitely you'll stop filling the bucket, because as it will give you in a water loss. That's the Just take an example in application as well. Suppose your application is able to handle this much, this limit, let's say this limit, and once you try to ramp up users at this particular time, again there is a failure. You cannot ramp up the users anymore. Like it is a fail, it is a constant. Like you can observe this line, and there cannot be a rise in user again, because